AI filmmaking is getting more and more realistic. The effects are getting better. And the realism that is getting generated from some of these tools is getting so realistic, it's very hard to tell between what's actually AI and what's actually real. So if you want to know how to actually pull together a cinematic short film or your own, even it could be longer if you wanted, stick around in this video because I'll be sharing with you my exact tools, what I use, my workflow, the artificial intelligence sequences that go behind it, and also some limitations with AI to keep it fully realistic, because if anyone thinks they're just going to prompt away and this is all going to turn out perfectly, it's not realistic. And but I'll share with you some things you can do to kind of save yourself some of the frustration when dealing with AI in its current form. So let's watch this cinematic clip and then I'll give you some behind the scenes of how I put it all together.
Where am I? I'm lost. I need to leave and get back to my wife.
Return to your wife? I'm here to keep you forever.
So that right there is a very short creation of the story, The Odyssey. So I just came up with the idea. I wanted to make a story about The Odyssey because there was been a lot of talk over on X and other platforms about this new movie that's actually going to drop this week. And I thought, why don't I just create a little scene from it, have a bit of fun, and I'd actually put a character who looks a little bit similar to me into that film and just see if I can create like a Hollywood level clip that looks realistic. And that's exactly the output I got from what I'm about to share with you. So the first thing you need before you even start AI filmmaking is you're going to need to have an idea. So I had the idea of The Odyssey, and one of the first prompts I did to get a better understanding about what I could bring to life is I did actually prompt Google Gemini with a very basic prompt just to give me a chronological understanding of the story. And then I just actually focused in on one section, which was trapped by Calypso. So there was a big storm. Odysseus's boat sinks, and he's the only one who's left alive, and he washes up on this beach, and he gets captured by Calypso right there. So that's the bit where I wanted to bring to life in this very, very short film. Though it was like less than a minute, but that's the bit I wanted to zoom in with. So the first thing you can do is you can also prompt for AI. You can, talk to AI to get some ideas. That was a very basic prompt to get some chronological understanding of the Odysseus before we then went on to the next level. Now, with artificial intelligence in its current form, the most important thing you need to understand right now is what you put into it is what you get out of it, right? So if you can create a realistic image of a character or of a setting where it's appropriate, that's where you're going to get your really, really good outputs if you're using the correct tools too. So some AI tools absolutely suck, and it doesn't matter what input you put into it. But if you're using the right tools that I will share with you in this video, you will get out very, very, very realistic. So realistic now, it's actually hard to tell the difference between what is real, what is not real. Outputs, which is exactly what you want to see. So the next thing we needed to do is develop some characters. Now I actually wanted the main character to look similar to me, and I'll show you how I got that to look similar to me. But I also wanted the characters to be true to the story of the Odyssey as well. So all I've done here is I've actually prompted it once again. I did actually use one of my gems I've set up to do this because I like to create lots and lots of cinematic shorts. So what I've actually set up already in Google Gemini is a gem, and you can see this is what a gem is. But basically, if I give the gem a story, or if I give the gem a movie, or if I give the gem a video game, it's going to come back to me with the top 10 most iconic characters of that story or book or whatever it's going to be. And it's going to give me some ultra realistic prompts that I can then feed into an image generator. So all I've done right here is, if you see, I'm using my gem that I've created. And then I'm jumping over here and I've said Odyssey, the book, the legendary tale, not a video game. So I wanted to make sure it wasn't referencing a video game. And I just wanted the really old school, like the Greek story that's, thousands of years old. We actually got some great descriptions of Odysseus right here. And we also got one of Calypso. So I used Calypso in the prompting as well. So I'll actually show you Calypso, how it kind of turned out. So these were some of my different prompts that came out. But one I didn't like to begin with was this. This came out of Nano Banana, and I just thought, let's go with something a bit better. And I went to the next one and actually used GPT Image 2.0. And you can see right here, this is the character that appears in the short film. I thought this was a great output. And this was the character we ended up going with. And it's very important when you are doing a character in a film to generate a character reference sheet as well. And what I mean by that is you can see these multiple angles. And what happens is if you don't put the multiple angles in, the AI will then hallucinate in your clips, which will then destroy the continuous flow of what the character looks like, which then destroys the credibility of the film you're trying to create and the realism you're trying to create as well. So it's very important you actually can do this. And if you want these exact prompts, because it might be too long to put it in the YouTube description, you can join me over on my school community where we are building out all the most important things, resources you can use. And you can actually pick up a free camera angle guide that we'll talk about later on as this video progresses, how important camera angles are to what you're creating and the impact you're trying to achieve on the audience as well. So there's some hidden techniques. It's consistent in every film you're ever going to watch, and you can actually pick up this very helpful guide completely for free in the link to my school community down below. So check that out if you're interested. I'll also include the character prompting as well that can help you set up some great character prompts as well. And then for actually creating the character of Odysseus, I wanted to put myself in here, the younger version actually, and you can actually see in my Google Gemini prompt, it gave me the older version. So you'll see probably in the movie that comes out, if you do watch the Odyssey, the big blockbuster by Christopher Nolan, there'll be two versions of Odyssey. I think there'll be the old Odyssey and the young Odyssey. And the old Odyssey I didn't want to include in this one. I wanted to keep it kind of realistic to my age level. I just asked Gemini right here to update your prompt for Odysseus, but this time give me the younger version of him when he was in his military outfit during the war. So that timeline was more appropriate to when he washes up on the beach. And we got the Odysseus Young prompt. And from that Odysseus Young prompt, we just jumped over here. And before I actually go on, I just want to explain as well, I am in Higgsfield at the moment, which I am using, which is basically an aggregator of video and imaging prompts and services you can do. So we are using, for this clip, we are using Nano Banana for image generation. We are also using GPT Image 2.0. For image generation as well. We're going to be using a service called Seed Dance to create the realism in terms of animation as well. But I just wanted to explain that as well. So it is called Higgsfield. Again, you'll find all these links in my school community if you want. So again, link to the school will be down below, where I basically give you all the resources during this tutorial for you to get. So what I actually did for Odysseus is I just uploaded a bunch of selfies, right? So you can see my selfies up the top right corner. And then I just pasted in the description that was generated from Google Gemini, but I've also just inputted this line right here. So I said, use the reference photos attached to make the face the same, but condition his skin to how it would be in the story. So obviously I'm a bit more paler in my selfies, and I wanted him to be a little bit more tanner because he's out, in the Mediterranean fighting, wars and stuff in the sun. So he's going to have a bit more of a tan than me in the trenches of Higgsfield and Seed Dance right here. And that's what it came out with. So I was quite happy with that. But later on, just as another tip, I would actually recommend not rendering your image characters with items to make it easier. So if you want to just create a simple AI film that works, get rid of the items for now, because it could actually cause problems later. So I actually re-rendered these again. You can see it right here. We re-rendered the images again without the items, with the prompting, and that was to create more consistency, because I didn't want his helmet showing up in different scenes when it wasn't appropriate for his helmet to be there, or his spear, or his shield as well. So we went back to that one with a very plain look, just some basic outfits, and you'll see that consistently come up in the videos. Now that we have our characters all set up, it is actually time to make the setting. So for this scene, I actually skipped on making the scene for the ocean, because I wanted Seedance to do that organically. So some scenes you won't need to really do it, and it was just a short scene, and it's just a stormy ocean scene, so we didn't really need to create a scene for that. I wanted Seedance to do that itself. But for the beach, I thought it was important to actually have a beach that it was going to reference, and so we could get some consistency. So what I actually did is I created this. So we had another prompt from Gemini for a Greek beach setting basically, and you can see right here, this is the input for the prompt. And we want it ultra realistic, we want it photorealistic, we want it cinematic as well, and ultra detailed. And this was the original beach that came out. And I actually wanted this. I wanted it to be a sunny day. But then I was actually making this film. It struck me that when I was creating this and it was sunny, it wasn't creating the narrative and the tone I wanted to. So remember, when you are creating cinemas and you do have a narrative that you're trying to get across the audience, especially if it's a bit of a spooky or tense scene, you want the cinematics to flow with that. So when I was actually originally rendering this, and I'll show you some of the original renders, we had a hallucination right here when we created this. It was too sunny, and the dialogue I thought wasn't, and the cinematics wasn't spooky enough, and it didn't really match the scene. So I actually had to stop this. I got out of the sunny atmosphere, and we actually went back into the image prompter right here, and we actually changed it to overcast. So all I've done right here is use that original scene, and then I have just told AI right here in Nano Banana Pro to make it overcast and gloomy, and then we've got the cinematic we're hoping for in the video. So now that we have our settings, we have our characters already, and I had already in my mind just a very basic screenplay, what was going to occur in the scene. This is just something I came up with, that script, like, where is my wife? I need to get back to her. I'm going to keep you here forever. That's just something I wrote myself. And you can just put it on like a little random piece of paper, or you can properly screenplay it out if you want. But for the purposes of this video, it was very short and very basic. And then from that, we get into the video prompting, right? So the video prompting is where we basically bring all the animations alive. But again, it's very important that you do have the setting and the characters before you get into the video prompting stage right here. So we had that all ready to go, so we can actually head straight back into the video prompting. You can actually see for this short film, there wasn't actually many scenes at all. So it's very short. There wasn't many generations. We did a couple of takes in some different areas where it didn't really work out, and I'll show you exactly what didn't work out. But to bring it all alive, you have to have a general idea of what's going to happen in your scene. You can use, for me, all I wanted was like him washing up on the beach, so a bit of an ambient look at the scenery, a down angle as well to make sure he was looking like vulnerable. And to go back to this guide as well, you can actually see it come up here, the down angle. So the high angle right here. So positioning the camera above the subject, looking down, making them look, weak and vulnerable. So I wanted that to be as the washing up on the beach scene. But before we even got to that washing up on the beach, we needed like a shaky handheld on board the ship scene as well. So if you actually see right here, which we actually generated in reverse order, but we have some ambient shots of the boat kind of going through the ocean right here. So that was the boat scene from a distance, and what I used right here was like an aerial or a drone shot to look down at the boat to kind of set the scene as well. So that is an aerial view, like a drone view of the boat. And one of the next scenes I wanted to shoot was this one, where the boat basically gets capsized by a wave. And you can see right there, this was another great one, but I didn't use it because I wanted the other men on the ship to be seen in the boat as well in this close-up shot. But that's another great power of how good some of this stuff is. And I'm only rendering this in 720p as well, so it's not really very detailed. It could look so much better in 1080p or 4K. And one thing that you can do, and this is what I used for creating this film, is another kind of secret behind the scenes, is you can set up a project in Claude, or it could also be Gemini as well. And what you want to be setting up in this type of prompting is you want to be setting up Claude or Gemini to enhance what you're putting in and giving you the output of the prompt, maybe with a few options and with a few educational pieces as well. So I set up this, it's called the Screenplay Assistant, specifically for Odyssey in Claude. And the way this thing works is, so if I have an idea, right? So I have a rough idea, and this is exactly what happens. So for example, we wanted that aerial dynamic shot. So all I wrote into Claude with these parameters set up, I need a storm shot of the boat. To set the scene, the boat is in the files, one shot showing the boat from 45 degrees, about 150 meters away. The camera is watching the boat about 100 meters high, looking at the boat getting tossed around the ocean like a toy. Cinematic wide angle, high up shot, looking down at the boat at a 45-degree angle to encompass the gravity of the situation and the storm. So that was the shot we got right here. So that was the output, but Claude actually enhanced the prompt. So when you're prompting an AI, you use like a gem, or you use this in Claude, which is going to be like an assistant, and this can be repeatable, so it really helps you out long term. And it basically gives you like a structured output of the prompt you then go put into the video generator, right? So in this video generator, we're using Seed Dance 2.0, but you can see how structured this prompt output is. So it basically, enhances it, does a lot of the admin for you in tagging character reference sheets and things like that. And then it can give you some director's notes. But that is something I set up to help me with just this short film. And I recommend it. So if you're creating a short film, you definitely want to get your organizational prompting in order before you do it, so you can get that consistency. And you should be using the best technical guidelines, and that's what that does. And if we actually go right here, we look at the instructions. It's quite a long instruction for this prompt. But that really assists in getting an idea. So if I have a rough shot I want, and I have that education right here, so for my cinematic camera angles, like what type of shot I want, I just briefly describe it. I briefly describe the characters, and then I put that in, and then it's going to give me a really good prompt to then go put into Seed Dance to make it all come alive right here. And there's different types of, descriptions you can put in to get really good ones. So that's what we used for the Screenplay assistant. And then it was a matter of just kind of pulling everything together and getting the shots I wanted roughly in order, and then editing it together as well. So another cool shot I did right here was this tracking shot of Calypso kind of walking towards the beach, creating a bit of mystery as well. Low level tracking shot. One thing that was interesting is her legs are kind of glowing blue a little bit. And I thought, like, it's not supposed to do that, but I just thought, oh, she's a bit of a god, so we'll just leave it in there anyway. It could be some mysterious power. But you can see sometimes Seed Dance will throw a few things out there that aren't supposed to be in there. And we had the pan up kind of shaky view from Odysseus's point of view on the beach to kind of create that empowering view of Calypso. So Calypso is the powerful one in this dialogue, and we have the down angle against Odysseus right here on the beach, looking very weak again, and looking directly into the camera as well. And that kind of creates the power dynamic in this scene, where he's the weak one, she's the strong one, kind of looking down on him. And we had some other cool things like lightning getting shot into the background and extending the scene. And then once you have your shots all together and you have a bit of an idea of how it's going to go, then you just download all this. So I download these clips. And the next thing I'll do is I'll actually just put it into a video editor, right? So the video editor I'm using in this case is called DaVinci Resolve. It's completely free to use. So I'm using the free version, just doing some very basic editing as well. So just kind of getting the conversation in the right order, getting the context of what I want in the right order as well. And then just kind of, putting it into the timeline and editing it all together. And this is the outcome that we saw at the start of the video. So very basic right here. And then in addition, if you want to go that extra step, you can also add in music as well. So we did have music in that clip. In particular, if we just play very briefly this song, so you can see right here. You can hear a little bit of a spooky soundtrack in the background. And what I used for that is a website called Suno.com. And I wanted it a bit of a spooky one. So I just kind of gave it some general ideas for a spooky background, cinematic. And that's what came out in Suno right here. But Suno is a great tool for creating copyright-free music that you can then go use in your videos. But I'll leave a link to all these resources in my school as well, where you can get some value out of it. And really to sum it up, so what you need to do is get really good character sheets. So the more realistic you can make your character reference sheets, the better your cinematic output will be. You have to also be using the right tools. So with Higgsfield and with other types of platforms, as long as they have access to really important stuff like GPT Image 2.0 or Nano Banana Pro or Nano Banana 2. For your image generations, I think it will turn out quite well. But obviously, you're going to be checking your image generations before you even start the movie. And then you also want to be creating using a good animator. So in this example, all these videos were animated in Seedance 2.0. But having said that, there's still limitations on Seedance, so not every prompt is going to be perfect. For example, I could not get this scene to work. We did 3 and we just paused it there for the purposes of this because I wanted to just get the video out. But I really wanted him, for example, this is some of the limitations. I wanted him to be, flung into the water and swirling around in an ocean of water, like in a storm. But as you can see in all these iterations that we did, it looks like he's just fallen into a pool, and that just destroys the realism. So when you're creating like a stormy scene with tidal waves, you want the surface of the water to match that. So we just didn't include that. And there's going to be other situations where you might not get like the perfect prompt output, but I would recommend for now, just edit around it if you can. So if there's areas where you can salvage things, pan things out, crop things, you do that to just keep practicing your filmmaking and your video making as well. So I think the more you kind of just get out there, the better it's going to be for your knowledge and your learning. And, don't get hung too much up on the fine details just yet. Remember, this technology is going to rapidly change. So in the future, this is going to be way better. And a bit of a secret between me and you, this is going to put traditional filmmaking probably out of business in the future. And I would say it's because you can just get some really great stuff right now. So right now with Seedance and GPT Image 2.0, it is getting so realistic so quickly, and it's getting pretty crazy. So that is a helpful guide. We will have more tutorials coming up in the future with some more things. If you want some helpful resources, come join me in the school. Building this out, you get some free guides right there. But I appreciate you watching this. Go make some great cinematics, and I will see you in the next video.